What's up, guys? Welcome to Cool Sports Guy. I'm Jose. I'm going to be joining here shortly with none other than Tom. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hello, hello.
All right,
Good to
and
have
none
back.
other and none other than Jarrett as well, joining us here today. We're back. NFL season's right around the corner. Today's broadcast we're recording a little early, but we're going to be posting this Tuesday. But anyways, without all that technical mumbo jumbo, today we're going to be discussing all our predictions for individual achievements, honors for the rest of the year. We think we've got enough of the preseason that we can have a kind of an educated decision on our picks, right, guys?
Yeah,
Well,
I'd say so.
hopefully it is an educated guess, and it is subject to change as the season goes by. I do want to just throw that out there.
Just saying, we're not just throwing darts at a board and saying, see what sticks, right? We're not doing that. We're professionals here, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's all calculated.
Exactly. Yeah. So, well, let's not waste any time. A lot of ground to cover and everything. So, individual achievement honors start today, and our first one is comeback player of the year. This is where we analyze everybody that had a bad time last year, injuries, whatever troubles they could have gotten into. This is where they come back. So, first pick of the NFL comeback player of the year goes to Tom. Tom, would you like to tell us a little bit about your pick, possibly?
Look, mine was pretty fair and simple as far as who's going to come back and win the award. It's Derrick Henry, none other. He
Derrick
played
Henry.
only 8 games. Yeah, that picture says it all. Look at that. Look, he's still a beast.
Mhm.
He had a broken foot last year. 8 games into the season, it was unfortunate. Nobody wanted to see him get hurt. Nobody wanted to see him go. But even in those 8 games, he was almost at 1,000 yards and had 10 touchdowns. Still a beast. I think unless he comes back with any some sort of remaining injury, I think he's still going to continue the way he did. He was in talks of MVP 2 seasons ago when I think he had almost 1,000 yards. So yeah, and Titans can very much use him. I think their performances in general, even in the playoffs, with Henry in that game playing like at 100%, I think they probably would have won the game. So I think Derrick Henry's just going to win it. I don't think there's too much to say. Plus, if I look at all the list of people that went out and it's going to come back, the answer to me is pretty obvious, but clearly not to you guys because y'all picked somebody else. So
We did, yes. I didn't want to be like you. I wanted to make my own path in the world. So,
Good job,
no
little
offense. I'm learning how to walk, so I can do it. So it just takes a few steps, and Derrick Henry's taking them in the right direction. And look, he came back for the playoffs. I mean, if he nobody else could have done that, probably. I mean, there's very few people from that kind of injury right there. So the fact that he even came back on the field,
I still don't truly believe he was 100% when he did, and maybe he should not have. It was more like a desperate move by the Titans when that happened. But that's why I think the season's going to be a little different. Hopefully
Agreed.
he's at 100%. He had a full offseason to get that foot ready. And he's going to come back, and you're going to watch him throw around some guys like this.
I'll be pretty. I can't wait as long as it's not against the Texans, but that's another story altogether. So let's go ahead and, I mean, it's going to happen. I can't really stop the madness from happening, but here we go. So with the second pick of the comeback players of the year, Jared, tell us a little about your pick.
So Tom hates my pick. I'm just going to throw that out there now. I went with Mr. Baker Mayfield, the new quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. I don't think the Panthers are a bad team. They don't have a great roster, don't get me wrong, but it has some pieces there that could very much benefit a receiver. They have a relatively okay offensive line. They just drafted, his name is so hard to pronounce, like Ikem Okongwu or whatever, the left tackle in the first round, which is boosting the already, decent offensive line. You have DJ Moore at wide receiver. Christian McCaffrey, if he's healthy, is one of the best running backs in the league, and he's a great pass catching back, which again benefits the quarterback. Yep. This team, I think, on offense, I know the Browns had a good offensive roster because they had a great offensive line and running backs, but they never had that number one receiver for him, in my opinion. Odell Beckham, yes, but Odell Beckham in Cleveland, don't know what that was all about, but just a bad stop for him. But I think with DJ Moore is like a bona fide number one receiver, and I think that'll help Baker a lot. Also, if you look back on it, not last year. Baker was hurt most of the year, hence why I'm picking him for like the comeback. He was playing on injury. But the year before that, he brought the Browns to the playoffs for the first time in like eons, and is like, it was pretty miraculous in itself. And I think that Baker Mayfield is still the Baker Mayfield that we're going to see. I think last year it was a fluke thing. It was a injury to his throwing shoulder, which for any quarterback, that's like, a nail in the coffin, writing on the wall. Like, you're not going to have a good season with an injury to your throwing shoulder. I'm a lot higher on Baker Mayfield than most people are. I think he just kind of has that it factor, that edge to him to be. I don't think he's going to be elite, but I think he will definitely step up and be like a top 15, top 12 quarterback.
All right, fair enough. Here's just a random side note question. When you're talking about the injury right there, last year, who had more of an impact on, like, did he want to come back with those injuries, or did the team make him come back? And if he wanted to come back, is it fair to use that as an excuse for how bad he played towards the end of the year?
I don't know, because for sure, obviously, because I'm not a part of the team. I think, just based on my knowledge of Baker Mayfield, I think I think he is the reason that he stayed playing, which I think was probably a bad decision. I feel like if he was that hurt, he should have sat out. But he's one of those people who is like as competitive as a person as you can get, and those type of people aren't going to sit out of the game unless they physically cannot move. I think that again, he probably should have sat out. That's a bad injury to play with for a quarterback. I do think there is a positive to it, that you can just see the competitiveness in him to even play in that scenario. And I expect a pretty solid year from Baker Mayfield.
Fair enough. All right. So that was a little side note question right there, and on to the next one. I just have a few notes here. You guys let me rehearse this real quick. My pick has averaged 14.5 games since joining the league. Obviously, last year was a little bit rough for him. 77 receptions, 931 yards. This is all averages, by the way. Led his team in receptions in 2 of those years. So, he's only been in the league, how many? 5 years, I believe. You'll find out here in a minute. And he got injured last year. I didn't count the last year's numbers, obviously, after 5 games. And now he has good old Mahomes throwing to him. My player, none other than Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, we all know that one of the biggest weapons for the Chiefs left this year, got to throw into him. So I think that Juju's got all the weapons, all the tools right now to succeed in that offense right there. Hopefully his knee holds up. I know he's had a little trouble in the preseason right now with the knee, but Andy Reid says he'll be okay for game 1. So that's what I've heard so far. So those are my reasons right there for having Juju. What do you guys think? Good on this side of the field?
Go ahead, Jared.
I was just gonna say, I love this pick, probably a lot more than my own pick. Because whenever we were originally getting the list together, I did see we this one was kind of spoiled to the rest of us. Right. But I love Juju as a player. I think he has all of the talent to be a elite number 1 wide receiver. But he had the corpse of Big Ben throwing to him the past few years.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
And that's a big negative. He's going from one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. I'm not saying Big Ben over his career. I'm just saying the recent Big Ben in memory is a very washed Big Ben. Everyone knows that. But he's going from a bottom tier quarterback in the league to debatably the most talented quarterback in the league. And then like you mentioned, they're losing Tyreek Hill. So that leaves some targets have to go to somebody. And I think Juju is going to get quite a bulk of those. And I think with his talent and obviously the talent Patrick Mahomes has, I think that's going to be a great year. And if I could change my pick before knowing this, Juju's probably a better pick than Baker, in my opinion.
It's really kind. Go ahead.
So here's the thing. First of all, I have no problems with Jose's pick. It's a pretty solid pick. For comeback player of the year, usually what are they considering coming back from?
Do you want an honest answer? Because they don't have a set thing. It's basically they can come back from injury, they can come back from just a bad year. It's usually injury 99% of the time, but it's kind of a toss up. It's whatever they decide is a comeback at that time.
Fair enough. I went off of injury. That's why I picked Derrick Henry, because I don't think either of the other two are coming off of injury. And when I say either of them are not coming off of injury, everyone knows about Baker Mayfield's injury, but I don't know if it's looked as the same if he stayed on the field and kept playing.
Yeah. Fair argument.
I just want to throw that out.
No, that's like a completely fair argument. Like, honestly, like, I'm not 100% sure if it, like, at that time they decide that it doesn't qualify for comeback player of the year.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You're right. Nothing's probably written in stone. But if I'm casting a vote on this and I see Baker Mayfield's name, I'm asking myself, what is he coming back from?
Bad season. Like a really bad, really.
Because, okay, so again, this award is probably the flukiest of them all because, again, there's not like a set definition of it. I like to compare it to kind of like the in the NBA, it's like most improved player is players who come back after an injury or a bad season and just improve a lot for the next season. That's kind of my viewpoint on it. I don't know if that's the official one or not, but that's what I've always gone off of on comeback player of the year. I don't. That's all I can say about it. I'm not 100% sure.
I just listen. I don't want to burst your bubble here, but I do want to make a quick point. Baker Mayfield, the year before last, when he took them to the playoffs, like you mentioned, he was in a one possession game in the fourth quarter where Mahomes was hurt and went out, and he couldn't convert a third down to go win the game for his team when it mattered most. So I do want to just throw that out there. And then we'll move on because there was no injury there. There was no opposing great quarterback getting ready to come back and score on him. It was him in the fourth quarter, one possession game. They needed to go score. They failed. Just throwing that out there. As far as Juju goes, I do want to point out, Big Ben, yes, the very last 2 years, we've had this argument back and forth, and we're not going to fight over if he was good or not. That's okay. We'll say, hey, he wasn't that great. But keep in mind, Juju's best year was still when Antonio Brown was there still as a number one receiver.
That's right.
Which oftentimes left Juju Smith-Schuster one-on-one coverage. The second Antonio Brown was out, the amount of times Juju was able to get open went down drastically. I do want to just throw that out there. Now, Jose, you made a great choice because Kansas City does have quite a few weapons, and it might put him back into a position where Juju is left wide open on one-on-one coverages more often. And, of course, it's Patrick Mahomes, who I'm not going to argue on this, is tremendously talented compared to Big Ben. So, he very much can be. I just completely disagree with your Baker Mayfield pick here.
Okay, which is fair. I knew that was going to happen when I made the pick. You have this utter hatred for Baker Mayfield.
I don't hate him. I just...
Anytime I say anything positive about Baker Mayfield, you come out with just anything negative. But I will. One thing to add to your point, adding to Jose's pick about Juju. Yes, they don't have like a number one receiver, but I also think Travis Kelce is just a receiver disguised as a tight end. So he basically has a number one receiver there anyway, so he'll get a lot of the attention.
And then one last rebuttal. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I don't hate Baker, but you said it yourself. I think you and I have talked about it so many times. The it factor in a quarterback, for whatever reason you see it in Baker Mayfield, I've never seen it. Not when it counts. Hey, maybe you're right. We'll see. Maybe he'll win it.
Well, one last rebuttal before we move on. Just on that one, I agree with Antonio Brown being there. He was there the first 3 years that Juju was there. I don't think. Yeah, he was there first 3 years, and 1 and 2 years, first year and second year for Juju, he was number two compared to Antonio. But third year numbers, if I'm not mistaken, we can stat check later. I think their numbers were off by like 10. Each of them had like over 100 receptions, so they were pretty even at third year, which is like one of the best years I think for Juju right there. So, and then obviously the last 2 years, the decline of Ben Roethlisberger took a toll on his numbers for sure. But he's still averaging pretty well numbers, and but we'll see. Only time will tell what happens after that, right? All right, so moving on to the next one. The first pick is for this one, Coach of the Year, and the first person to make their selection will be Jarrett. What do you have to say about your coach?
So my knowledge on Coach of the Year, again, not always exactly how it goes, but in recent memory, for the most part, it's always been a new coach, like a new hire that has a good year and brings like improves a team from the season before. You know, like God forbid, Matt Nagy won it a couple years ago because the Bears were a dumpster fire, and then he they were good whenever his first year there, and he won Coach of the Year even though he was an awful coach. So I thought I would kind of stick with the trend of just a new coach on a new team, and I also a team who I think is going to have a pretty big year, and that is the Minnesota Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell. I like whenever way back when the hirings happened, I wrote the article on my like top coaching hires, and he was up there like 1 or 2. I don't remember exactly. It was with Matt Eberflus of the Bears. I really like this hiring. He's with the technically he's a part of like the Shanahan tree because he came from McVay, who came from Shanahan in Washington. So I think bringing that kind of offensive scheme to Minnesota, where they already have, a top 5 running back in Dalvin Cook. They have debatably the best receiver in football in Justin Jefferson. They have probably the best number 2 receiver in football in Adam Thielen. Their offensive line has some holes, and that's definitely like my biggest concern with them. But it's not just like so bad that it like you can't work with it. It's definitely a serviceable offensive line. Kirk Cousins, I have my questions about as well, but he also has so many pieces around him. It's kind of hard for him to fail. And with that being said, I think a little bit of a hot take. I think that the Vikings could make a run for this division, even with, Green Bay being in said division. I think that Justin Jefferson is going to have a Cooper Kupp-esque year next season. And I think with that, and if them potentially winning the division, I think that they're going to have such a good year that you basically can't give it to anyone else other than Kevin O'Connell.
Fair enough. That's pretty good. Yeah, he's got a lot of weapons to work with. So see what he happens there.
That was a redemption pick from that Baker Mayfield pick. I'll give you that. That was pretty good.
You got a lot to work with.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Also, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I think this is proving I'm not biased. I'm picking a division rival here. So just throwing that out there as well.
I didn't want to say it. Yeah, I was like, what? What's going on here?
It's a setup because when the Bears beat them, it's like, hey, they beat the coach of the year. That's
exactly. I'm going to hype up our division. So if we win, then it looks even better,
Not too shabby there. Yeah. A lot of good weapons, a lot of good stuff to work with. I think I cut off some of my screen with making this pick right here. But anyways, my coach, same guidelines you're talking about. First year coach, looking at a lot of great players on his team. A couple on defense, Justin Simmons, 7th season, Patrick Surtain, 2nd season, and none other than Russell Wilson. So I don't know if you can see on there, 11th season right now. A lot of weapons right there to work with, a lot of pieces already kind of in place. So my coach is Nathaniel Hackett. He's been in the league for quite a while now, offensive coordinator. What was it? Jacksonville, right? Buffalo.
It was Jacksonville, and then he was the I believe he was offensive coordinator at Green Bay last year too. Yeah, but he had been an offensive coordinator previously in Jacksonville.
So a lot of experience right there, a lot of weapons to work with, and yeah, like you said, right now the Broncos are kind of poised to go in there. So he really it's win right now. They wouldn't have made all that trade right there with the expectations to fail. So for those reasons, I think Nathaniel Hackett has a lot of the weapons that he needs to be that coach of the year. So any thoughts on that?
I think it's a solid pick. Honestly, whenever I was like making my decision, I first, looked at the new head coach hirings, and, obviously he's one of them. And I thought he definitely has a shot for it. The only reason I shied away from him is because basically he's in the AFC and specifically the AFC West. And I feel like they're not going to give the coach of the year award to someone who doesn't make the playoffs. And I'm not saying the Broncos won't, but that division is going to be so hard to get a playoff spot in, and overall the AFC conference, because there's like 13 of the 15 teams or 16 teams in the conference are definitely playoff caliber teams. So it's going to be tough to get in there. But I think if Hackett has a good season, they will make the playoffs, and he will definitely be up there for coach of the year.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I just have one quick thing on it, Jose. So I like both the y'all's picks. The only thing is to me is, hey, play the odds quite often. And from the odds perspective, no matter how great Denver Broncos do next year, it's always going to be Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. Wilson just left Seattle, came here, took over as the quarterback of the Denver Broncos. It's just like saying, hey, remember in 2020 when Brady came over to the Buccaneers and took over? I don't want to sound stupid here. Bruce Arians did not win, did he? He was not the coach of the year, right?
No. It wasn't.
Okay.
I don't think
no,
it was him. I
please.
just don't remember who
No,
it was.
For a split
Sure, you
second,
get
I was
coach
just
of the
like,
year.
am I shooting myself in the foot?
You
here?
get
No.
the GOAT,
So-
and then you get coach of the year as well.
Exactly.
So that's
You're gonna get the coach of the year award. So I think this, especially this year, because 2 years in a row, a respectable quarterback at least left their team, went to another team. First year, won Super Bowl, right? Brady did it, and then Stafford just did it last year, and now so all eyes are on Russell Wilson. So if the team does bad or good, it's going to be Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. So therefore, I think no matter how great of a job he does coaching, he's unfortunately going to be overlooked unless that offense just completely stinks it up, or at least Wilson completely stinks it up, and he still finds ways to win games. Then he might get some attention. That's my only thing on it.
fair enough. Yeah, got a lot to work with. Hopefully, but what's it called? Bruce Arians was head coach in Arizona also before that, right?
Yeah.
And Hackett is his first head coaching job, period. So maybe that might play into his favor. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe not. I mean, Bruce Arians, he's had a lot of success and everything. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, gets Tom Brady, and like, you can't just get here you go, coach of the year now for that. So, no, it's a fair argument. I mean, who knows which way they go on these decisions, whatever. But hopefully, he's able to manage. What about you, Tom? What you got for us?
Listen, I don't have again, just like my first pick. I think so. To me, I looked at it more of a comeback coach of the year rather than coach of the year, and it's Doug Peterson's my pick, and it's very plain and simple. Look, again, I'm playing the odds here. You're talking about a guy 4 years ago was the Eagles head coach. His MVP caliber quarterback went down, did not skip a beat, continued to go into the playoffs, and steamrolled some of the teams he was playing, including Minnesota, by the way, who Mike Zimmer at the time was the head coach. He was a defensive-minded head coach, and I think they beat them by like 25 or 30 points in that game. And of course, went to the Super Bowl against the GOAT and against the GOAT coach, and outplayed and outcoached, right? With a backup quarterback. No matter how great we can argue Nick Foles is, at the end of the day, they still put up 41 points on the Bill Belichick defense, right? Bill Belichick defense, typically, especially in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, is no joke, and they beat him. So a guy like that who just got hired by Jacksonville. Jacksonville was absolute travesty last year. Trevor Lawrence is going into their second year. They don't even need to make the playoffs, in my opinion. If Jacksonville can win 8 games this coming season, that's going to be the biggest jump that people are going to pay attention to and talk about, hey, this is the difference Doug Peterson brought to this organization, because it's not a new quarterback. He has Lawrence's second year, but Lawrence was there last year. So more of the focus is going to be what Doug Peterson is bringing to the table, but also in the last 4, 5, 6 hiring that Jacksonville Jaguars have done, this is a very solid candidate, in my opinion. So I can very much see every single time they win or come close to winning, a lot of credit going towards Doug Peterson's way, and I can see him as the coach.
Nice. I think we can all agree that also Jared's pick is the best dressed in the pictures we picked for him. Yeah. So
it's not about the best dress, man. that sleeveless monster usually wins.
Yeah.
So.
One thing I want to add to Tom's pick about Doug Peterson, I really like. I think all 3 of these picks are pretty solid. I like Doug Peterson as a coach, and like the whole him getting fired from Philadelphia in the first place was just a dumb move from Philly. It was because basically he wasn't going to be a pushover and do whatever management said, and so he got fired for it. I really like the pairing with him in Jacksonville, and kind of how Tom was saying, it's not about like if they make the playoffs or not. I think it's honestly, if for him to win Coach of the Year, it wouldn't really necessarily be about wins or losses altogether. It would be more so about like Trevor Lawrence's development, because he has a generational like quarterback prospect on his team, and if he can bring him, because he looked bad last year. Like I think rookie,
but cultural change to that organization will easily make him win Coach of the Year. The last time Jacksonville Jaguars had a good season, they made it all the way to the AFC Championship game. But if you look at 5 years before that or the 5 years after that, they are absolute garbage. So
yeah, I think if Trevor Lawrence like takes that next step, then Doug Peterson's going to get a lot of credit for it, and I think that would give him a big shot at winning Coach of the Year.
All right, it's like you said. I mean, with 2 games, but they win 2 games. No, they won more games than 2, didn't they?
They won 3.
Last season it was like 2 or 3. It was not a lot.
Yeah. So they win 6. They've already doubled the win total, and that's Coach of the Year material right there. I'm just saying, like, it's not a lot to work with right now. Like, figure like just making progress. So I don't know. That this Division 2 got a lot of opportunities right there. You know what I mean? So see what he does. And next one is Defensive Rookie of the Year. I believe I'm going to be first on this one. Is that right? Jose's pick. My pick, sharing the field with Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, along with one of the best defenses in the league. Y'all guess what I'm talking about?
I'm guessing Kyer Elam, the cornerback out of Florida.
How did you know, sir?
I just went with the first round pick. That was just my assumption.
I thought you said Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'm sorry.
We do have that one too coming up.
Yeah.
Just got defense. Look at the right quote. Yeah, I mean, like you got one of the best defenses in the league right now, and you're sharing it with some all stars right there, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer. I think that I have a lot of opportunities right there to develop and see what happens. I think last year, I don't know, I would put Bills in top 5, of course. I love their defense last year. They're only 1 2-headed coin away from getting to the next round of the playoffs, on the coin flip. The coin flip joke, by the way, guys. I don't know if y'all caught that one. But so that's all that happens. He's got a lot of tools to work with right there. He's a great player. Moving in right now, see what happens. How he can develop. I think right now, I'm not sure if he's got the starting gig, but I mean, a lot of room to develop. He's got opportunities and everything. So that being said, Kyer Elam is my pick right there. Tom, what do you think about your pick?
So mine is a defensive end. First round, second pick overall.
Okay.
I have some faith in what this team is doing now. So this is like the equivalent of Jacksonville. I think they're going to end up winning like 8 games this season. I don't necessarily think they're going to go much further, but it will be a big improvement. And I think he's going to help the team a lot. He was the runner-up for the Heisman Trophy last year. Any guesses? These were all apparently guessing. I kind of blurted out the names the last 2 times. Here it looks like he kind of has an idea. And he's just,
I know who it is. I've known who it is.
Oh, okay, it's Aiden Hutchinson. He had 2018 his in college he had 15 tackles. 2019 it jumped up to 68. 2021 he unfortunately played 3 games into it. Had an injury, season ending. Didn't look too pretty, but he came back in 2021 and he broke the single season sack record of 14 for his team. So he was a runner-up for Heisman Trophy, and I mean he's a 6'7" monster, 264 pounds, and I think he can do a lot of great things in Detroit. And yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of talk of him considering that he was one of the top 5 picks in the NFL draft last year, and would be interesting.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go first. You started talking first.
So unfortunately, he's going to have a lot of opportunity on the defense to get some work in. So yeah, really high pick and everything. So only time will tell. And a lot of players can do well in that defense right there, and just take out some kneecaps and whatever you got to do to. And they're running practice on their own too in the preseason right now. They're running practice on their own too. So a lot of interesting developments for Lion Country right there. So be pretty good. Real quick, I didn't tell you guys about this, but now we're reaching the halftime portion of our show right now. So there's nothing special going on. Just letting y'all know that we're at the halfway mark and it's going to be great. We can do a little, but halftime portion right there. I know we got a lot of picks, so we maybe have to do a part 2 to this right here, but we can't leave out Mr. Jarrett's pick right there for the Defensive Rookie of the Year. What say you, Mr. Jarrett?
Which mine is okay. Now is the time for it to seem like I'm biased, but my pick is
I'm sorry. Did you want to say anything about Aiden Hutchinson? I'm sorry, I did interrupt you before. Remember?
I'll get to that after I make my pick. We're good. We'll just do a little recap afterwards. But for my pick, I'm gonna be biased here with the Bears' second round pick. Our second pick in the second round actually is safety Jaquan Brisker from Penn State. I know it makes me seem super biased here, but I have no earthly idea how this man was like the fourth or fifth safety picked in the draft this year. I get, Kyle Hamilton is viewed as like a generational talent, but then there was like Dax Hill to Cincinnati, and then even division rival Vikings picked Lewis Cine from Georgia, which left this man on the board for us to take. And I like watching him, during like the training camp highlight or tape or like the preseason film. Like, he just has a nose for the football. He has like all of the intangibles you want in a safety. I don't want to get ahead of myself or him in his career, but I think like he has like that generational talent at safety. Like, he has everything you want. He has the speed. He has he is not afraid to hit. He can be like a Jamal Adams type of like, box safety kind of player. He's not that bad in coverage either. I think he just has. I could talk about him all day. Honestly, he's like my favorite rookie from the entire Bears draft class. I've been hyped since we got him, watching him for these past few months without like actual football going on. I fell in love with this player. I think he's going to be so good. And the only thing I will say is it's kind of hard for defensive backs to win Defensive Rookie of the Year just because their stats don't show up on the stat sheet as much unless they get, like a ton of interceptions. But Jaquan Brisker is going to be so good. He's going to be an elite safety before you know it.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, interceptions are good and everything, but yeah, if you're that good, then people are going to throw away from you. So you can't really, you can get those, in the beginning, but after a while, they're probably throw away from you. So it's a nice little balance right there. Find out what you can do. Bears defense looks solid this year too. Time will tell, right?
They're very well coached at the very least. Eberflus knows what he's doing. Like, it's night and day from Nagy's like team to Eberflus. It's
so how many wins are you predicting for the Bears this year? Just curious.
So we are actually going to do a playoff prediction thing where I have all of the wins and losses. So I'm not going to spoil that yet. It might come as a surprise. It the number I had originally was a lot lower than it is now after the preseason. And I know preseason doesn't mean all that much, but just watching how well coached they are means a lot. I'm not saying they're winning like 13 games or anything crazy like that, but
I was not trying to be a jerk at all. I was just curious. And I just want to point out though, no taken. We did not say we're going to have a win-loss record podcast. We just said playoff fixtures.
No, yeah. I said it was playoff, but I also just did win-loss because I like to. I wanted to.
No. I'm just saying that because we were mentioning the Bears. So from the sound of it, I'm assuming you got the Bears in there.
At least 10 wins, right?
I'm going to be honest. How I did it was there was this website where I picked every game for the entire season, and it came out with the records at the end. Yes, I did that. So
send me a link later. What about thoughts on Aiden Hutchinson for you? You said you had to.
I really like Aiden Hutchinson. Whenever I did my mock drafts, before the draft, Aiden Hutchinson, I had him going number 1, which I probably should have just like assumed he would go to Detroit because it's just a better storyline. But he was by far like the most talented, most safe prospect. I think he maybe doesn't have the highest ceiling of all of the rookies, but he probably has the highest floor. And I think he's going to have a big year. Obviously, he's not my pick for a reason, but I do think that Aiden Hutchinson is going to be a very good player in the NFL.
Not bad, yeah. I mean, he's got a high pick and everything. He needs to produce quick these days. They don't allow too much of a lollygagging out there to see what happens. So, but now, Tom, we can talk about Offensive Rookie of the Year. This category is
the worst pick I've had, I think. Okay, so I'm going first. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep it quick and easy because we are more than halfway through our thing, and we're not more than halfway through our picks. So,
yeah, exactly. Yes.
Listen, here's the thing. So, Offensive Rookie of the Year. This is probably my most controversial take, but I just, I went with I went with Christian Watson. And again, I'm partially playing the odds here. Why am I playing the odds? Because look at the other picks you got. You got Kenny Pickett for the Steelers, who, if he does anything less than good, I think at some point he's start, whether that's at the beginning of the season, midway through the season, maybe towards the end of the season. I don't know, but I think that's gonna put a big hole on And usually, once you take the quarterback out of the situation, you have George Pickens who plays for the Steelers. Again, it's going to be Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky throwing to him. So I don't really necessarily have the most faith in him winning. Drake London, Falcons, again, you got Mariota throwing to you. No, sir, I'm not picking you. The biggest one is Sky Moore that, that plays for Kansas City. That could be a bit of a threat. But again, Kansas City has so many weapons. Like you said, Smith-Schuster might end up being one of the best picks for them. And yeah, I think out of it. So my best bet is, hey, who's one of the best quarterbacks in pro football right now who can throw a football accurately to any given receiver? And I think, hey, that's Aaron Rodgers, who desperately needs receivers. So he's gonna do everything he can to pick receivers up and throw it to them. I just got word that my mic is a little mumbled. I apologize. I have no idea what's going on.
I don't know. Yeah, it seems like whenever I don't know what's going on. Like, it's just every now and then it'll just mumble up a little bit.
Well, hopefully y'all caught all the main stuff.
I did. Yes.
I did. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Just wanted to get the full Tom voice in there. I didn't want people to be cheated off of that. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah.
But yeah, as long as he follows the right routes and is able to do what Aaron Rodgers says, I think.
And Aaron Rodgers doesn't talk crap about his receivers.
Yeah, I mean, as long as all that falls into place, I think peace and love all the way, right? So,
ayahuasca, baby.
Yes. All right. Foreshadowing. So, yeah, it seems a little sharp and everything. But what about you, Jared? What do you got going on?
Before I get into my pick, I want to add one thing to Tom's. Christian Watson, I don't think is a bad pick, but if you were going to go for a Packers receiver, I would go with Romeo Doubs over Christian Watson personally. Yeah. Watson, if you follow me on Twitter, which I know a lot of people don't, but I had pointed out that Christian Watson pre-draft was one of my draft crushes. I thought he was going to be like, he's super talented. He's just super raw of a prospect, but his injuries to start his career is not very promising to me. And I still think he'll be super good. Don't get me wrong. But I think Romeo Doubs has that higher ceiling than he does. And as a Bears fan, the one who scares me more is Romeo Doubs. But
that's fair. I do just want to say Watson is very fast and quick. Like he ran a 4.3 40-yard dash, and he also returned punts. So it's probably where the injury factor kicks in a little bit. But I think that could be a big help to Green Bay.
Also, to get into my pick, I know Tom kind of talked about how it was hard to find someone. Yeah, this one, this is kind of a fluke pick for me. I could not find someone who I confidently was could put here, because with quarterbacks, the only option would be Kenny Pickett if he even starts, which might not happen. So that obviously wasn't going to be my pick, because I think as of now, Mitch is projected to be the starter. So quarterbacks usually win it, but if there's not one starting, you don't really have an option there. Then, running backs, there's the top one drafted was Breece Hall in the second round, but he's the backup behind Michael Carter. You had Kenneth Walker to Seattle in the second round, but he's also probably not going to be the number one running back. And they also split carries a lot in Seattle. So he's probably not going to get that many carries. So I can't pick him. There's not like a Kyle Pitts at tight end this year to pick. So nothing to go there. So that leaves wide receiver. All of the top ones, you have Garrett Wilson to the Jets, but he's hidden under the depth chart to Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, and Braxton Berrios. So that's kind of hard for me to pick him there. I think maybe the Packers receivers probably would have been better, but Chris Olave is my favorite. Also didn't pick him because he's buried under the Saints depth chart. So I went all, again, I know I'm saying who I'm not picking, but who I did pick is kind of just thrown out there. Tom did name drop him, is Sky Moore from the Kansas City Chiefs. I know he's a second round pick, and neither of my rookie of the year picks were first rounders, which is pretty insane. I really like Sky Moore's potential, and I know he's also kind of currently buried under the depth chart, but I feel like the names above him aren't as good as these other guys' names above them. You have Juju, who obviously I think is going to be the number one receiver, and then you have Mecole Hardman, who's more of a returnman. He's not that great of a receiver. You have Valdez-Scantling, who has drop issues, but he's basically just a speedster. And those names, I feel like isn't as hard for Sky Moore to surpass as Garrett Wilson or Olave passing his guys. So I went with Sky Moore. I think maybe he'll have a slow start to the season. Yes, I know Travis Kelce, but I think he'll have a slow start, but I think he'll earn that playing time. And Mahomes likes to spread the ball out. I think he'll get his touches, and I think that he's maybe a risky pick, but I don't think there's a safe option for the Rookie of the Year this year.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of how they fit into the system and everything. There's no telling, of course, but as long as you have all the tools necessary to get in there, it's up to them at that point.
Hey, you never know, man. I'm kind of scared. I'm sorry, Jose. I'm just going to jump in.
No, I accidentally hit the front arrow and I spoiled my pick. I'm sorry. I was going to go back. Go ahead.
Unless you picked Olave, I just want to say I have kind of a bit. Hey, man, if Jameis Winston comes out of a shell and starts to play great, that could be a threat.
Oh, no, I know. Because when we did our quarterback picks, I had Winston high because I think based on how he played before his injury last year, he seems like a new quarterback, under Sean Payton and learning under that. And Chris Olave, which mostly because he had the connection with Justin Fields, I really wanted the Bears to get him, and he was my favorite wide receiver prospect. Didn't happen, so,
It's okay.
I think Jameis Winston, is he having troubles in the preseason right now, staying healthy, or is he's doing good right now? I haven't seen too many Saints games.
I know he hurt his leg during practice. I don't know if he was completely.
It was kind of like
completely okay.
Yeah, he had like a tweak, so I don't think he's really played much during preseason or anything, but he's fine.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, a lot of weapons out there. See, new coach and everything too. And like I said, finding the right system, trying to find the right players that fit those, and them doing them jobs. That's why for my pick right there, I highlight a lot of the places that he'll be, people he'll be sharing the field with. Robert Woods, seasoned veteran, Nick Westbrook, Akani. Help, guys.
I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm not very familiar with. I know who he is, but I'm not very familiar with the guy.
Oh, I know who he is. I just know last name was always Westbrook Akani. Let's go.
We're gonna wait till week 1 to hear the name, and then we'll come back and correct the spot.
I actually went and saw some of the plays. I heard a commentator. Anyways, I tried to prepare and I failed. Anyways, and we have also comeback player of the year, Derrick Henry, unofficially yet. So I forgot to put that, being such a powerhouse in the run game. So. Joining all that, got Treylon Burks, wide receiver, for Tennessee Titans. I think as far as the only question mark I have there is how Tannehill is going to be doing in that offense. Everything else, we know he started off really strong last year. So about him, I know he's touted pretty high, and of course in this division, it's very easy to make that leap right there. So about Tannehill, just forgetting all that last part of of last season and starting off strong, and hopefully he can stay that way. So I think doing that for Treylon Burks, having all those weapons around him to learn from, being able to get in there, I think he could fit in that system pretty well, and hopefully not do too well against the Texans, but that's another story for another day. Besides that, you guys know anything about him? Have y'all heard about Treylon Burks?
You go ahead, Tom.
Sorry, I have. I just don't have too much faith. Again, Tannehill always starts off kind of hot, I feel like. But then at some point he kind of tends to drop off. So, but I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Exactly. I think he's in the middle of that. Like Jared kind of mentioned, the offensive player or offensive rookie, at least to select going into this year, I was just like, bro, that was I looked at all the names and I was just like, I'm just gonna pick one. Just play the odds here.
Fit in, yes. Yeah. You gonna say, Jared?
I'm definitely no draft expert or draft guru, but I do think that I know quite a bit when it comes to draft time, because that's my favorite time of the year, because the Bears don't actually make the playoffs, so that's the only thing I can look forward to. Going into the draft, Treylon Burks wasn't my favorite wide receiver prospect, and I knew the Green Bay was going to take a receiver early, and he was honestly who I was hoping they would take in the first round. It didn't happen, sadly. But Burks, he's kind of grown on me a little bit. I do think a lot of people think he's something that he's not, because I've seen a lot of people compare him to a Deebo Samuels Jr., which his play style is nothing like Deebo. He has the big body and stuff like Deebo does, but he's not he could never come out of the backfield. He doesn't have the body or the elusiveness for that. But I think if you just look at him as strictly a big bodied receiver who can go up getting the ball, then he's fine. He doesn't blow me away with any of his abilities, but I could definitely see it happen just because, with them losing AJ Brown, they need a new AJ Brown. And Robert Woods, I'm a really big fan of, and I think he's a very underrated receiver, but he's just not that like number one AJ Brown kind of guy. And I think Treylon Burks can maybe slot into that well. At the very least, he could force the ball to get up really good stats.
Yeah, we'll see see. It all depends on Tannehill and see how he does right there. So, but without further ado, we are in the fourth quarter, guys. That's right. New developments right there. Do we need to do a little fourth quarter dance? Anyways, a lot of cool. So
like
if y'all,
let's go thing.
Yeah, let's go. So we might have to jump a little bit quicker on these last ones right here. We have 3 more categories, if I'm not mistaken. We have Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, and MVP. So without further ado,
all right, guys, I gotta go fast on these.
Jared's pick. Go ahead, give us a couple thoughts and announce your player.
Okay, my Defensive Player of the Year. There's so many probably better options because the same player doesn't win it every year. But when you look at the entire NFL, the best player in the NFL is Aaron Donald. There's no way around it. It's Aaron Donald. I know, again, the same player doesn't usually win it, and some other good options would be maybe Micah Parsons. I don't think TJ Watt would win it because he just won it last year. But the younger guys who are kind of coming in, I could see winning the award. But I just could not pick Aaron Donald. He's by far the best player in the NFL, especially on the defensive side of the ball. He's debatably the best defensive player of all time. And, he just won his first Super Bowl. I think he's going to want to push for that second one, and I think he's going to have a big year.
Fair enough. And I don't like that you said that you don't think TJ Watt's going to win it because the man's been averaging 15 and a half games a season, 14 and a half sacks per season. And each year that number has gone up. All the numbers have gone up, including injury year too. So he was injured that year, or was it last year? Yeah, including those years. So my pick is TJ Watt. I forgot. I missed one letter. I misspelled it in my mind. TJ Watt's my pick. And Tom, what do you think?
So look, both very solid pick. There really aren't too many counter arguments I want to make to this. Look, as far as my argument to why this person should be the Defensive Player of the Year, I don't have an argument. Jose, please put the picture up.
It's shirtless Aaron Donald.
You tell me somebody else is going to be the Defensive Player of the Year. It's hard for me to believe it.
It could be.
I almost gave you the picture that Jared gave you, but then I was looking and I said, you know what? I think this fits the description. Who is blocking this dude?
Yeah, no. So I think either way you go, it's gonna be a fun watching him play though.
The only thing, Jared, I will say is, hey, if somebody can win back-to-back MVPs, then somebody could win back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year.
Which I get. I want to add 2 things. One, we didn't know the picks ahead of time, but I found out what Tom's was for Defensive Player of the Year when I was looking for my picture for Aaron Donald. And one of the first ones that popped up was shirtless Aaron Donald. I'm like, oh, so that's who his pick is.
Right.
But for the TJ Watt thing, yes, I still think he's definitely not out of the equation for him to win it, but he tied the NFL sack record. And that was it took all of that just to win Defensive Player of the Year. He's been snubbed multiple times before. So I feel voters have some hatred for TJ Watt. I don't know. And I just don't see him winning it. I don't think it's a bad pick by any means, but I just don't see it personally.
He's no JJ effect.
No, that's fair. I even almost mispronounced his name, and he was my pick, so I'm off by one letter. So I think he was on pace to beat the record even without the 17th game too. So he got hurt and he was out for I believe 2 games. I think
it was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was crazy that the numbers he was putting up. So next one will be Offensive Player of the Year. And the first one with that one, I'll just go quick on this one. Since joining the league in 2020, he's averaging 1,490 yards a season, 14 touchdowns a season, starting in 90% of his throughout both seasons because he's only been in season twice. So my offensive pick of the year is none other than Mr. Jonathan Taylor. And hopefully he doesn't do all those numbers against the Texans. It's hard for me to pick that one, but can't argue with how much of a powerhouse he was on that offense, So, and now he's got Matt Ryan behind at the helm. So if Matt Ryan doesn't do the job, which I don't think, I'm thinking good stuff from Matt Ryan. Hopefully not too good, but that's my pick. What about you, Tom?
I just want to say I almost picked Jonathan Taylor, so I really don't have much of a counter argument to why he's not going to win it. I think he's very much capable of winning it, and I think he's going to be in the running for it next year. Listen, my pick, again, here's the thing. I think this person is on the way to arguably be the greatest regular season quarterback, right? He's on his way to be Peyton Manning, to be the greatest regular season quarterback. I understand, yes, he's the quarterback. Here's the thing. I picked Aaron Rodgers. You can't give the same guy MVP 3 years in a row. And yes, I think Aaron Rodgers will continue to perform at the super high level he has the last 2 years, even without Davante Adams. And he's going to win Offensive Player of the Year because voters are going to be hesitant to give him MVP, even though he will pretty much be upfront in the running for it. So therefore, your counter pick to that, the fix to that will be to give him Offensive Player of the Year.
He will be
Jared
fun to watch.
is pissed off by my pick right now.
I'm not pissed off. I'm more so confused. Again, as a Bears fan, I hate Aaron Rodgers. He owns us. He beats us every time. But at the same time, I think there's zero shot that he wins it 3 years in a row. I think
he's not. That's why I picked him for Offensive Player of the Year instead of MVP. That's my point.
I'm dumb. For some reason, I thought this was MVP. Whenever you said Aaron Rodgers. Okay, so backtracking. Don't like it for Offensive Player of the Year, given quarterbacks don't usually win this award because this is for non-quarterback offensive players because quarterbacks get MVP. Could be wrong. I also don't see him winning Offensive Player of the Year because I expect kind of a slow, I don't want to say down year because I don't want to make it seem like, I think he's going to be bad this season. I think he's going to drop from the number 1, number 2 quarterback down to 5. But Davante Adams, I know he's done well with bad receivers before, but Davante Adams also has some of the best separation in the league, and he's losing a big piece with Davante Adams. But I could rant about that all day. This is the first pick of yours that I don't really agree with. For my pick, I stayed in the NFC North. I did not pick a Chicago Bear. I picked a Minnesota Viking. I picked Mr. Justin Jefferson, wide receiver. Okay. I mentioned this earlier with the Kevin O'Connell Coach of the Year pick. Justin Jefferson's going to have a big year. I expect a very Cooper Kupp-esque type of season, which I would love to pick Cooper Kupp because that's my boy and that's one of my favorite players of all time. But I don't think he's going to win again because, voter bias or recent, I don't know if the voter fatigue, that's what I'm going for. Voter fatigue is very much a thing. And that's why I don't think Kupp has a chance of winning it this year unless he does even better than last year, which is nearly impossible. I think Justin Jefferson's going to have an insane year. I've said this multiple times. I will keep saying this until I am proven otherwise. He's going to have a huge year, and I expect him to win Offensive Player of the Year. Maybe even 2,000 yards receiving.
Sounds like, you can't argue. He's got all the tools for it, so we'll see how the next year. But we made it to the end, guys. MVP. So who gets to do the first pick?
6 minutes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Guys, listen.
Tom.
Listen. When 4,800 yards, 37 touchdowns, it's considered a down year. This guy should be always in the run to be the MVP of the game, even though I don't always support him all the way through, not all the time, but I got to give credit where credit is due. And the good news is not all eyes are on him this year. And including some of us here on the show decided to pick Josh Allen as the MVP because everyone and their moms is looking at Josh Allen going, oh man, if he would have gotten that coin flip right, he would have won that Super Bowl last year. Patrick Mahomes is going to be the MVP. Patrick Mahomes is being overlooked continuously because he went to a Super Bowl with a trash of an offensive line. He did anything and everything. Well, not anything. I had my concerns in that game, but even then, he did a lot of things great. He did a lot of things great, took all the criticism for losing that Super Bowl, still came back and made the AFC Championship game. So far, he's had one bad or terrible, I guess, half of a game, which was the AFC Championship game, in the second half. And people are so ready to write him off. It's not like nobody's saying he's not going to be great, but it's just like, he's not going to be in the discussion because you got Russell Wilson with the Broncos now. And look at Josh Allen. Look at all these quarterbacks. What are you talking about? I'm not, again, I don't know if he's going to win the Super Bowl. I don't know if he's going to be the greatest or any of that stuff. But it's hard for me to say, hey, this dude going into this year, he's still very much in the running for it. And I can see him sneaking into it. The pressure is kind of off, in my opinion, which I think is going to help his performance more. And if he can still perform the way he does without Tyreek Hill, that'll shut up a lot. So, Mahomes is my MVP pick.
It's a fair pick. I think somebody else had something different to say on that one.
Okay, so I'm going to start this off with saying I think there's only 3 options you can pick for MVP that make any sense whatsoever. Tom Brady is not one of them, in my opinion. I think I'm not hating on your man. I'm just saying I don't think Brady is going to win it this year.
Listen,
I think
you also put Brady as number 6 quarterback.
That was okay. I think. Listen, we're not getting to this. We're running out of time. I think your 3 options are Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, or who I picked, Josh Allen. That is literally it. Like it. Those are the 3 guys who have they're probably the 3 best quarterbacks in the league. Justin Herbert, has a bunch of pieces. Josh Allen has a bunch of pieces. Patrick Mahomes has a bunch of pieces. They have some of the best offensive groups around them. And Josh Allen, I went with. I was so close to picking Patrick Mahomes because I know I made it clear on the quarterback rankings. I think Mahomes has another level he's going to get to, and I think Mahomes is going to have a huge year. But I also think Josh Allen is going to have a big year. I was so torn and down to the last second when I made my pick, but I ended up going with Josh Allen just because I feel like the Bills, I think, are going to be such a good team this year. I think overall they're better. They're going to have probably the best record in the NFL, and I think that's going to be a big part to do with his MVP season.
All right, fair enough. Very good, very good. My pick, like you said, you forgot one of the people that might be got 41 touchdowns from joining his new team. His interception percentage below 3%, gets to throw to 2021's MVP. His completion percentage went up. His touchdown percentage went up. His yards gained per pass attempt went up. He's been sacked less. He's been sacked less times. I mean, who knew? Oh, yeah. Oh, 2-minute warning. Okay. All right. Getting down to the crunch time, guys. And without further ado, if my slider will work yet, Matt Stafford. John Matthew Stafford is my pick. I think you can be a good candidate right there in the end. Be a fun season regardless. What do you guys think about all the picks? Anything that stood out negative real quick? Got 30 seconds each?
From a taking standpoint, as long as Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp are still on that team, I think he's going to be overlooked a little bit. And I also, as great as he's playing, listen, I love Matthew Stafford, but I think there are too many other players in the league that are performing way too well for him to win this MVP.
All right, sounds good. Garrett, everything good?
My quick 20 seconds. I think the thing with Stafford, I don't hate the pick. I just think it's very unlikely given he's right outside the elite quarterbacks, in my opinion. I think he's 1 or 2 spots away. And I feel like if whoever's going to win MVP is going to be one of those top 5-6 quarterbacks, the elite guys.
That's fair. Understood. Well, then we reached the last point of our show. Guys, we'll be back in a couple of days. We're going to be talking about our playoff predictions, Super Bowl predictions, all that good stuff. So be sure to follow on Twitter, Cool Sports Guy, Instagram, The Cool Sports Guy, and then our Facebook page, Cool Sports Guy on there. Guys, see you next time, huh? And we'll be discussing all the rest of the Super Bowl or everything else before the season begins. Sound good? See you guys later, all right?
Peace.